Okay, today we're learning Perek Yud. Perek Yud, the Rebbe is here to describe what is a tzaddik, the levels of tzaddikim. So here we, after in Perek Tes, he said there's a battle, it's like a city, we have to refresh it 2 weeks. When a person works so that his nefesh elikis is mizgaber on the nefesh abam is overpowers. Right? He said before, kishazeh comes a neifel. If one goes up, the other falls. If the nefesh elikis is dominant, so the nefesh abam becomes crashes, becomes subservient. So v'nilcham kol kach im abamis. He has such an intense milchama ad shemegarish mevar hara shabo mechol asmoli. He completely pushes away the ra. So a few things. V'hine kishe ha'adam, the person. Who's the person? It's a problem. In other words, the Alter Rebbe in Tanya writes.
It's still not a tzaddik?
The Alter Rebbe in Perek Tes writes, who is our consciousness? Who is the Adam? In Tanya, he says the Adam is the Nefesh Abamis. He ha'Adam atzmei.
I missed it.
Yeah, Perek Tes.
Wow.
The Benini. So the question is, who is this Adam? So you're saying, by a tzaddik, the Adam asserted himself. The Nefesh Elikis, whatever. Some say, well, the Alter Rebbe is hinting here to the Nefesh HaSichlis. There's a third Nefesh that, in other words, in later Chassidus, in other Ma'amorim, he brings this idea. The Alter Rebbe also speaks about the Nefesh HaSichlis, but it's not, he doesn't refer to it anywhere in Tanya. So to say, if he doesn't refer to it anywhere in Tanya and say, that's what he means here, it's a problem. But like upon it, we just started. So Adam, when the person, whoever that is madbir nafshi elikis, v'nilcham kol kach im abamis, he had such an intense war, ad shemegarish. Gerushin means you pushed aside, but they're still there. Yeah? Then there's mevair, that's more. Till he was mevair, he abolished it, he abir chon, it's a menishto. The ra shabo. The ra in the nefesh abamis. Where does the ra from the nefesh abamis come from? From the chol asmoli shebelev. In other words, remember, the nefesh abamis itself is a spiritual force. In other words, as a ruchni is like a force, the nefesh abamis is an abstract idea. I'm number one. I take care of me. Selfishness. It's in a goof. So in a goof, it wants gashmi as the things. So the ra in the nefesh abamis, right, that it takes out evil from the world. That's the goof is shaping that. That's the glasses of the goof. So a person was leichem so much that the nefesh abamis, there's no ra in it anymore. It doesn't desire the material things of the world. Now, uviarta hara mikirbecha in pshuta means Bezdin has an achrayus to kill, capital punishment, somebody who writes certain averis. Uviarta hara mikirbecha. But here the Alter Rebbe has a taich. Uviarta hara mikirbecha means it's every individual, and you should be mavai the ra, not from doing the ra, but mikirbecha, the ra that's hiding inside of you, you should be mavai. The etzemara. Now, the ein ra nepach l'tev mamish. If the ra, there was no ishapcha, the ra didn't become toiv, so nikra tzaddik she'eni gomer. The Alter Rebbe really is struggles here. I don't think he struggles. The way he sets it up is that in order to understand the tzaddik she'eni gomer, you have to first understand the tzaddik gomer. So he says, who is the tzaddik she'eni gomer? The one who's not a gomer yet. What's a gomer?
still didn't find.
So he's going to talk. He's going to explain now. You'll see. In other words, we learned in Perek Aleph from the Gemara, Tzadikim Yetzer Tov Shoiftam. The only voice right? How does the Alter Rebbe? The only voice that you hear is only the Yetzer Tov. That applies for a tzaddik she'eni gomer also, right? But even though the Nefesh Habahamis doesn't sound, he has no voice, but there's still something there in a tzaddik she'eni gomer. Yeah. So that's a tzaddik she'eni gomer. He's a tzaddik. And he's a tzaddik v'raloi. Tzaddik v'raloi, the way the Alter Rebbe explained on the first page of Tanya, that tzaddik v'raloi is defining his spiritual level. Remember, we learned in Perek Aleph, tzaddik v'raloi al pi pashut means you have a tzaddik who's poor. You have a tzaddik who's having a hard time in the world. And then there's the Raya Mehemne, that tzaddik v'raloi, the words tzaddik v'raloi are also a description, tzaddik she'ene gomor, and tzaddik v'raloi. Oh, tzaddik v'raloi, v'raloi. He controls the ra. So the words tzaddik v'raloi are part of the description. The hainu. What does it mean? He controls the ra. Sheyesh be'adayin me'at miz'er. There's a little bit in quality and quantity. The ma'at is in quantity. The ze'er is in quality of ra b'chol asmol. Elo shekofafu bottle tov machmas miutev. Again, you see, where is the ra? The ra is in the chol asmol, not the ra is in the nefesh habahamis. Yeah, the body still
has
some gravitation, episode, interest in Elam Hazeh.
That's why we separate Yisur Bora and nefesh habahamis.
Right. What's pshat? In other words, we'll see the way it comes out later. You have, let's say you have a person, you go to Eretz Yisrael, you don't drink tap water. It's disgusting, you don't like it, you buy bottled water. But you're in the desert.
Man's got to drink.
Right? So at a certain point, so you can't say that it's completely off the charts. In your finicky state, right? So you still epis, and it epis, you'll still have it if you're desperate enough. You'll eat that herring too, if you're desperate enough. Hello? Because the ra is so small, it's kofuf ubotul l'toy. It's kofuf and it's botul. Botul means that you don't feel it. You don't feel it. It's bottle, right? In certain cases of taruvis, you're allowed to eat everything, right? A tiny bit of milk drops into a big pot. So you're allowed to eat everything. It's bottle. Why? Because there's no ration. Because there are so bottle nidmaloi, it appears to him. The word here, nidmaloi, doesn't mean that he's lying to him, right? It seems to you. It's not saying, oh, you're deceiving yourself. Okay. No, nidmaloi, it seems to you, ki vayegarsheyu vayelach leikule legamri. It seems to you that it's completely gone, but it's not. Why? What? Avo be'emes. Ilu cholav v'holach le'legamri kol harashavei. If the entire evil would have been misplaced, haya nepach l'toiv mamish, the nefesh habahamis would have become a force for toiv. And that's where he goes to. In other words, there's the tzaddik gomor. This is where there's something completely different. It's not on a right? It's on an axis. It's not on an axis. You continue a little more. Oh, tzaddik gomor. No. Tzaddik gomor is a completely different table, because the nefesh habahamis, as long as it has a trace of neshicha to Elam Hazeh, as long as Elam Hazeh talks to it at all, it remains nefesh habahamis with tegashmias. Only when it's completely removed, turns. It's like you have a car, you have two gas pedals, there's no brakes anymore.
He's converting, he became Superman.
Right. It's a whole different. It's
On a boat, there's no brakes.
it's completely different. And that's where he goes now to talk about. Virinian, what does this mean? It says, Kihine, Tzadik Gomor, we have to understand. His Ram became Tev. And that's why he's called Tzadik V'Tev. There's only Tev. Who? How does that happen? Al Yedei Hasaras, by removing Habgodim Hatsoyim Legamre Meora. By removing completely, the Godim Hatsoyim doesn't mean Levushim Achshava Dibur Maisa. But Godim Hatsoyim means Tainuge Eilam Hazah. There's nothing in Eilam Hazah talks to him. It doesn't talk to him intellectually, that's Ein Zach.
He doesn't have attachment.
But it doesn't talk to him emotionally. And even more than that, it's despicable. So, in other words, how could we talk about it? We're coming from in our world. But to think of it, that the Nefesh Abamis is self-interest. Imagine a person that all self-interest, he's disgusted by it. When he sees someone, it's very easy to see on someone else.
I'm sure.
When we see someone else who's remember when we were describing the way the Bachrim run for the food Friday night? So to us it looks like it's like Mias.
Or the sushi.
Right? It looks like it's Mias. Right? When we see someone else being selfish, openly selfish, it's disgusting. The Tzaddik Gomer in himself, anything that's for him, it's disgusting. The only interest is the Eibishter.
Like the Baal Shem Tov, he wouldn't let an Putta sit in his house for the night.
Yeah, there's a few, Meir Pamishlana, there's a few. So that's, how does that happen? By completely stripping the Godim Atzayim. There's no dirt. The Hainu, what does it mean? Limois ma'oid, to be excessively disgusted. Right? Now remember, Mias is like the garbage. It's a natural, it's an instinctive response. It's like the way we react to throw up. You choke. That's the way he. So the kama v'kama sipurim mazalchu. Where did I hear the story? I heard the story.
It was about money. Some lady came with short sleeve or something.
I think Rav Isaac. Rav Isaac Homler was in an inn. And there were other types of Hasidim there. Those Hasidim, it could be Chernobyl. By them, the whole Indian was Tzadik B'Amunos Yechia. So they were, right? So they wanted to see, he's a Chabad. Let's see, he doesn't have a Yetzirah. Let's see, right? So they sent someone, a waitress, but not 100%. And when she came, he threw up. Immediate reaction. Yeah. So limis ma'id. Okay, I'm going to mice this. Limis ma'id betanuge elam hazeh. Right? To be completely lis anig bom betanuge b'nei olam. That if the reason, the motive, why does he want it? Only to be mimala taiva, lemalas taiva saguf bilvan for leila avedis Hashem. Anything that's solely, only for the purpose of milui taiva, only for the purpose of temptation, to the tzaddik gomer, it's disgusting. Such behavior, selfishness. Now, when it comes to Shabbos, Einig Shabbos, is also, we have to understand how do they experience, because there's a a mitzvah to enjoy Shabbos mitzad guf. The Alter Rebbe couldn't taste the food.
Salty.
So he has a problem in any
I
Shabbos.
don't want to debate the October.
Right, but I'm saying he lost his ability to
Yes,
taste.
this level he doesn't work for his.
Okay. So that's by a tzaddik gomer. Why is it? What bothers him? Why is he repulsed by these temptations? He says, "Mipnei heyesam nimshachim v'nishbayim." Where do they come from? Where do they take their hashpah from? Me'aklipa v'sitrach. Their chayas is siphoned from klipa, which is the opposite of elikus. V'kol mashahu me'asitra achre. Anything that's existence is outside of elikus. Atzadik gomor huseine betachlis asini. His hate to it is absolute. Where does it come from? Not a cheshbon, that it's not good for me, but it comes from Geidel Ahavase LaHashem. Yes, his Avas Hashem is so fantastic that he only loves the Eibishter. He's not here for his own. Now there's a discussion back and forth. I think it's by the Rebbe actually. From the early years and the later years, there was a shift about this next word, uktushasei. If uktushasei is connected to the word Hashem, or the uktushasei is connected to the Ava. It's a holy love, or Hashem uktushasei. It's a holy Eibishter. So I don't remember what was the Mishnah Achronim, what was the conclusion. But I think in conclusion, the karma is after uktushasei. Ahavasei LaHashem uktushasei. The holy Ava. The Ava Rabba b'tanugim. His Avas Hashem is an Ava of pleasure. V'chiba Yesei Hanal. He's with Hashem. He's not yearning for something that's away from him. It's not an Ava that he's lacking something. He lives in elikus. He loves. He's basking in elikus, in Avos Hashem, in this greater Avos Hashem. And now the Alter Rebbe, so what? The Alter Rebbe says, Ki heim zeh lo umazeh. When the Avos Hashem is positioned in this way, when it's not self-interest, but it's Hashem-centered, not me-centered, so then it's necessarily two sides of a continuum. That the closer you are, the more interested you are in Hashem, the less interested and the more despicable self-interest and taivas elam haza become. So in that level, it's zelo mazeh. For a person who he wants to be close to the Eibishter because it'll be a good shidduch. He wants to be close to the Eibishter. It feels good. Shabbos, he won't have to work. Whatever. And they are more able. He wants to be able to experience meditation. The Lashon we always bring from the Pasuk, David HaMelech said, Kirvas Alekim li tov. Right? It feels good. Tamuru kitei vavaya. So, if it's coming from that position, it's not dafka that it creates such hate to Elam Haza. It's good for me this way, and that's good for me too. But when it's not about being good for me, when it's the Eibishter's, I'm motivated by the Eibishter created, I want to give him everything. So there, self-interest becomes, it becomes ugly. Becomes ugly. I can't bring a muscle from a different religion in the middle of a Shir Tanya. But so I'm not going to say a name or anything. But in the last 25 years, people were very, very angry when they found out that a certain charity that was run by a woman from a different religion that there was a certain selfish negia. In other words, she chooses already who she should give. She has a
default.
She has an interest. Ooh, she has an interest. What do you mean? It's all charity. Okay, so a little self-interest. No. Because when you're presenting as a saint, you can't, and then you have self-interest, like, oh, so the Rebbe, he favors a certain shliach. No. In that world, there's no room for favoritism. Right? At that level, because it's all pure. There's no self-interest. That's the tzaddik gomer. There's no self, yeah. It's there. It's Zelul Mazah. Kidduch Siv. What does David HaMelech say? Tachli sinos neisim. I hate them totally, completely. La'oivim hoyuli. And then he says, Chokreini v'dalavavi. You'll understand that why my hate is so deep. Because if you look in my heart, you'll see that I have such avos Hashem. So because my ava, because it's my ava to the Hashem is the way it is, that's where the sinner comes from. That's why the sinner is complete. Because at this level, it's Zelul Mazah. Ukefi erech geidol aval Hashem, as great, commensurate to the greatness of the avos Hashem, kach, similarly, erech geidol asina asitracha, right? It's in the same measure that he hates sitracha, and mius, that it's disgusting. He's repulsed instinctively. Betachlis. Because disgust is the opposite of ava, just like hate is the opposite. Okay, so this is based on what we were discussing, and also just to keep in mind, again, that these aren't seichel dike cheshbonos, these are already emotional cheshbonos. It's easy, anyone could conclude intellectually that sugar is not good for you, but it still tastes good. So we're talking about that the body is repulsed, the feeling is changed. The tzaddik sheini gomor, now back, okay, so now that we understand that a tzaddik gomor is a different zone. He's a place of complete altruism, complete selflessness. And in that level, there's no ra anymore. His whole ra was transformed to kedusha. So what's a tzaddik sheini gomor? He doesn't hate it absolutely. Because he doesn't hate it absolutely, he's not completely disgusted by it. If he's desperate enough, right? In other words, yeah. It's like, if the woman gets a little older, so this man will pass for a husband, etc. Right? You're hungry enough. If we see that the person doesn't hate absolutely, what does this tell us? That it must be necessarily that nishar eze shemetz ava v'taimod l'shon, that there's still a natural desire. There's still a tiny bit of pleasure that you could derive from Gashmias. And that tells you that your pleasures, your world of Tainug includes Gashmias. So that's why your Nefesh HaBamis has not become transformed. Because your Nefesh HaBamis is still held, it's still in the grip of Gashmias. Elo, shu bottle b'miyuta, you don't feel it because it's bottled. It's as if it doesn't exist. That's why the tzaddik is called tzaddik vera kofafu bottloi, and v'alkein, therefore gam avasi la'Hashem eina b'tachlis. His ava is not absolute. In other words, It's during davening, it's while you're learning, but it's not consistent all the way through solid.
Maybe this chapter from the same tzaddik.
There are those who say that all the discussions here of tzaddikim really are a lower level. It's a level that we could talk to the Beinoni about. You know, it's on his, the way he understands, there are grades. This is what he says now. The level of tzaddik she'eni gomor nischalekas lervovas madregas. There are tens of thousands of grades, combinations, levels of intensity. Be'inyan bechinas miyut hara hanishar. How little ra remains. Me'echad me'arbo yisevus harolim. It could be from all four, from one of the four. He said in Perek Aleph that there's Eish Ruach Mayim Ofar. Each one represents, signifies a different type of klipa. So it could be from one, yeah.
Like he said, it could be a rabbi, it's also time.
Be a rebbe.
He
He doesn't have any time as Elam Hazar besides speaking Dvarim B'Teilim. Speaking Dvarim B'Teilim, it's a shvachkeit. And ube'inyan bituloi b'miyutei. How bottle is it? B'shishim. Now, shishim is the minimum. Less than shishim, you're not a tzaddik she'enei gomer. Less than shishim, you're a Beinoni. What's shishim? Shishim is that you don't taste it, right? You know, where did the number shishim come from? Right. In other words, really, if whether it's milk and meat or treif and kosher get mixed together, really you're supposed to have a chef, a goy, taste it.
Okay.
And tell you, do you taste the treifus? Do you taste the milk?
Okay.
If he says no, it has to be Mesiach Lefi Tumai, because he doesn't have Ne'amonos, or it's a tradesman, so he doesn't want to lose his job, right? Now, but what happens if we don't have a goy? So the Chachamim will Meshayr that if it's less than a 60th, the tam is not, you're not going to taste it. So that's the basis of shishim.
Okay.
Right? That's why if it's spices, then it's not bottled b'shishim.
Right.
Right? 'Cause it's much more potent.
That's it.
So what does it mean that it's bottled b'shishim? That you don't taste it. It's not nirgash. So if it is nirgash, he's not a tzaddik she'enei gomer. So less than shishim it can't be. It has to be shishim. So he says b'shishim al derech mashal, oy be'elef revava v'kayetze al derech mashal. So I'm taking a little license. Okay, I'm taking a little license here, with your permission. But I'm just telling you lechatchila that the number elef is a mind. Is like chokhmah. Right? The word aleph means, right? We say in the bar mitzvah maimer, aleph chokhmah. Right? Generally speaking, taiva is in the heart. That it should be removed completely from the heart, but still in the mind, in concept, you entertain it. Right? Like someone would say,
it's not impulse, but it's still mechanism can help you.
in other words,
from heart, but we have mechanism in the brain which can absorb this.
right, even if, in other words, of course, the mind, al pi chassidus, the nefesh habam is in the lev. Right? So what does it mean? But you know, there's subconscious. To me, that's the revava. There's the subconscious part. Right? What happens with let's say sugar addiction? What does it mean? There's an addiction. You don't want it, but you don't have bechira anymore. You're not even thinking about it, and you don't even realize that you popped it in your mouth.
No, let's talk about coffee addiction. If I don't take, I feel bad. Even like
Fine,
this,
yeah.
even like
It's a
this.
relapse. The
Right, but so I'm saying that's a revolver.
It's not second nature. It's nature.
Sometimes, right? It's not even conscious. If we talk about, remember, you're talking about eating. In the world of subconscious, to be drawn to something, imagine that even in the subconscious, even in a dream, you're not going to think of Machshava Zara. You understand, right? You understand what I'm saying?
I have one dream that I was eating on the first.
But the subconscious would be a dream.
Good, I'm saying. Eat.
So even if you're saying if it's batal b'shishim b'riva, then it wouldn't even be in the dream.
Right. Of course your heart doesn't feel it. But even without a hergish, even in the mind, a thought, epis, it's like, let's say sometimes I'll walk behind somebody, someone smoking in front of me. And I'll smell the secondhand smoke. I'm like,
It's not bad.
right? It doesn't occur to me, of course I'm not going to smoke. But I don't have in my heart the Mashiach, right? So, but the complete...
You can, it defines this.
You don't have it discussed.
You can, if you find something like something exists, something is still existing.
Right. Even in the mind, not even, it completely removed. It's deeply foreign.
But still, I can identify.
You know, one of the things about when you go into an environment that you're not familiar with, you go somewhere for Shabbos, whatever, you travel, so sometimes you don't even realize there's shilas that come up. We traveled to Ukraine. So it didn't, someone came up on the bus and gave out espressos. Gemacha bracha, and we drank. You understand what I'm saying? To be like, there's no such thing. To be completely
On guard.
right, absolutely, intellectually. It's not a taiva. To be mamish at every moment. Yeah, people are caught off guard in different settings. Like, what just happened there? I tell the story. I was running I went on a Mayanot trip some years ago, whatever it was. Anyway, Friday night, we got together, we did it. I was telling a story. Then we have to daven. But the people are not shy of. So I started singing L'Chadaydi. Then I hopped like 10 minutes in that there's no mechitza here. You understand what I'm saying? We were sitting, mamish boys and girls. It fell in. You understand? It's not a show. We're sitting in a reflection room.
Different setting, different everything.
So to be in levels, it's not a taiva. I had a taiva to make a minion. You understand? It's not.
I never understood how certain people would go to people on Pesach, or they wouldn't eat, they wouldn't touch a thing, they wouldn't touch a cup, they wouldn't touch water.
Right.
But now
So
you're saying-
these are deeper levels of consciousness. Bittul, b'shishim, that's the nefesh habam, like we know it. Taiva. But then there's also elef and revava that it completely bottle or deeper levels, and not completely yet. Traces, subconscious traces. The hein, all these different levels are bechinas tzadikim harabim shebachal adeiros. Yet there are many. The Gemara says there's 18,000 is going to bring. This is the Gemara. Tamnisa alfa tzadika kaime kaime v'adish baruch Hu. 18,000 tzadikim. So that's all these tzadikim. We understand that just like every human being is unique. Every tzaddik is unique. Right? It doesn't mean, there's 18,000 identical. No, each one is another level, it's another Indian. Yeah. However, a mile is tzaddik gomor. When we talk about a tzaddik gomor, you see, when he says a mile is tzaddik gomor, what he's saying is, tzaddik gomor doesn't have that variety. These many different grades and this, because that's only levels of bittul. When you cross to the other side, you don't already have. It becomes basically, it's one.
One flavor.
Yeah, it's one mold. This is very, very limited. And they're called Bnei Aliyah. That, since it's a special level, that's why Nikraim Bnei Aliyah. Why are they called Bnei Aliyah? They transform darkness. Darkness becomes light. And he brings a source. It says in the Isaiah, when Chia passed away, he wanted to go to Reb Shimon Bar Yochai's Heichel. So, Shama Kol Nafik, you heard a voice coming out from the Heichel V'Amar. It said like this: Man minchon, who among you? In other words, here are the qualifications to enter into the chamber of Rashbi. If you transform darkness to light, then you're welcome. The time in Meriru the Miska. Right? Bitter to sweet. Ad lo yesunacha. In other words, at that level, then you could come. Otherwise, you can't come. If you didn't, I'm sorry. Ad lo yesunacha means before you passed away. You did this
before you got here.
Before you got here. Before you came. Before you passed away. So, okay. Pashut. In other words, Lamaila, every chamber represents a level. That's the level of Rashbi. Okay, I'm going to go quickly. Another reason why they're called Bnei Aliyah, Mipnei. So till now we're talking about Sur Meirah, that they went away, they abolished the God of Matzayim, their commitment to doing mitzvahs is also on a different level. It's either Gavaya means for the Eibishter, or just it's a very high purpose. Umayla, Mayla, Adrema, Mayla, it's the highest level. This bilvad has to be understood. It doesn't mean only. It means they are not like the tzaddik she'ene gomer, who serve Hashem l'davka bay. They're not like that. They're completely. They don't serve Hashem for that reason. You understand what I'm saying?
It's not the Dovka Boy?
You could say Pshat, you could say the reason why they do mitzvahs is not only to be close to Hashem, but also for Hashem. But that's wrong, Pshat. They don't serve Hashem in order to be close to Him. That's what tzaddikim she'enim gemurim do. They serve Hashem for Hashem, not for themselves. They have no self-interest. This is all part of the tzaddik she'enim gemurim. Because they're so thirsty. They want to be close. They're yearning. So they want to quench their thirst. No, that's not why they do it. Like the Zohar says. You know why they serve Hashem? Because they're Chasidim. Hizel Chasid. Hamis Chasidim Koimeh. They're doing chesed with Hashem. And they refer to Hashem as the one who nests. Meaning, the one who's going to have a dira b'tachtoinim. They are creating a dira for Hashem. That's why they do mitzvahs. The Pasha states a very powerful. It says Kibra like a son, the ishtadel bas ravui v'ime, that works, that exerts himself for his parents, out of love for them more than he does for himself. The rachim loin, he loves them, yatir migarmei, more than he loves himself. And nafshe v'ruche v'nishmasei chulu, he sets himself aside. He sacrifices himself spiritually, materially, just for his parents. Umasar garmei lemisalai, he gives himself away to die for them, in order to help them. Lemifrak, going to redeem them if they're in captivity. So that's the tzaddik. He's not interested in self-gain, his benefit. It's all about the Eibishter. That's what matters to him, not his own to ingrace himself, ingratiate, whatever the word is. I'm going to read this very quickly. The Rebbe says, the Sur Meira and the Asay Toiv are really one thing. They're going away. They're getting rid of the taivas, and the intensify and doing mitzvahs for Hashem are really one. They all come from the same shirish. Because when you go away from the Ra, what are you really doing? When you look at the Ra in the world, you say, I want the spark of godliness. I don't want the fancy wrapper. I want the Zanitzut Tzaliki. That's what I want. When you extract the Nitzut Tzaliki, what are you doing? You're being mamshich a new oir. There's only one thing the only way to be mamshich a new oir in the world is by being mavarer a nitzuts from klippa. Right? Remember the Mishnah, the Rebbe says, Hashem created the world, Basar Mamoris, Lipora Minor Shoyim. So the Rebbe says, Lipora Minor Shoyim. What kind of Lipora means to get paid? Where's the return on investment? Return on investment is only from Rishoyim. The tzaddikim, it's all capital. You put in 100, you take out 100. But with the Rishoyim, you put in 100, you take out 1,000. Because only the chayas in Klippa, when you transform the chayas in Klippa, that's when you have, that's a davar chadash. And that's what he's saying. The tzaddikim, they're looking for the spark. Taking out the spark, that's mamshich a new oir. And what's mitzvahs? To be mamshich the oir. He says, they're ma'oider, they're touching a place in the likus. And those yichudim are lahoirid mayin chudim. They bring down a hashpah. What's the hashpah? Every mitzvah is mamshich hashpah of chesed. Shekulon, all the mitzvahs are b'chines chasodim u'mayim dechunim. That's the hashpah from Hashem. Hashem wants to impact the world. How does He impact the world? When we do mitzvahs, we impact the world. V'hainu amshochas kedushas alakusi yizborich mo'maylo l'mato v'islamish b'dachtoinim. Here he has the lashon hamshochas kedushas alakusi. Because when you're maile noiga, you're touching a deeper level in alakus. It's not just your mamshich elikus, no. Your mamshich, the powerful elikus. He's stronger than the world. He wins over the world. It's a high, it's anandazah. Commissioners, Baruch Makamach. Shkoyach for making it possible. Thank you.